Imagine this, 432 students claimed to see A during their O-level examinations, but it was actually B throughout. Something like this apparently really happened during O-level English oral examination on the morning of 15 July 2026. Watch on as we will find out whether the matrix finally has a glitch. Hahaha, kids nowadays don't know what the skibidi is matrix ah. So, before anything, you old folks need to know something. Before explaining the saga, you first need to understand that the English O-level oral examination is very different from what older Singaporeans might remember. Until 2022, the oral examination included a reading aloud component. If you remember, we were given a passage and had to read it aloud before taking part in the spoken interaction with the examiners. However, under the syllabus introduced from 2023, reading aloud was replaced by something called brand response. During the examination, candidates first sit at the silent preparation station. They have 10 minutes to watch a video clip on the computer, read a question displayed on the screen, and prepare their response. They may write notes on a piece of paper during this period. After that, the candidate enters another room where 2 oral examiners are waiting. One examiner reads the same question aloud, and the candidate is given up to 2 minutes to deliver the planned response. This is followed by the spoken interaction component, during which the examiners discuss a broader topic related to the video with the candidate. Yeah, so this is kind of like an easier version of table topics in Toastmasters, which is very useful in real life. So, what happened on 15 July? The issue first attracted attention through posts on Reddit. The controversy involved candidates who took their English oral examination on the morning of 15 July 2026. Around 5,000 candidates took the examination during that session. The video shown to candidates featured street barbers at work. According to the Ministry of Education, the actual planned response question was, who do you think will go to a place like this for a haircut? Why do you say so? However, after entering the examination room, some candidates believed that this was not the question they had seen during the preparation period. Some candidates claimed that the question displayed on their computer was slightly different. They claimed that they were asked from a personal perspective instead. For example, some remember seeing phrases such as, would you go, would you visit, would you be interested, or would you want? That will lead to a different type of response. After all, who do you think will go? Ask candidates to describe the kind of people who might use a street barber, while would you go? Ask candidates whether they personally will use one. Several candidates subsequently told their schools or the Singapore Examinations and Assessment Board, better known as SEAB, that the question they had prepared for appeared different from the one read by the examiner. Mainstream reports later confirmed that the controversy had first surfaced through Reddit discussions. On 18 July, SEAB said that it had investigated the complaints, and here's the interesting thing. They found no discrepancy. In other words, the question was the same throughout. According to SEAB, only one version of the examination video and question was released to all examination centers through its e-examination system. That meant that the candidates' computers and the oral examiners' computers will have accessed the same material. SEAB also said that checks were carried out before each oral examination session to ensure that the correct video and questions appeared on the screens. The board noted that some people commenting online had subsequently acknowledged that they might have misread the question when they first saw it. However, the issue did not end there. The number of candidates reporting a possible discrepancy continued to rise, and several MPs filed questions about the incident. On 5th August 2026, Senior Minister of State for Education, Janil Puthucheary, addressed the matter in Parliament. He said that 170 candidates from 76 schools reported a discrepancy on the day of the examination. Over the next few days, the number increased to 432 candidates from 102 schools. The 432 candidates had been examined by 200 different oral examiner teams. According to Dr. Puthucheary, the reports did not come mainly from one school, examination center, or time slot. Even candidates examined at the same place by the same examiners remember different versions of the question. SEAB checked the system records and individual candidates' accounts to confirm which video and question they had seen. He also reviewed how the examination materials were prepared and sent out, as well as appeared on candidate screens. Cybersecurity checks found no signs that the system had been hacked or that the examination materials had been changed. Dr. Puthucheary said that all candidate and examiner accounts had obtained the material from a single approved source. GovTech was also asked to audit the technical platform and its processors. According to Dr. Puthucheary, GovTech reached the same conclusion as SEAB. The question has remained the same. Workers' Party's MP Kenneth Tiong asked whether SEAB had examined candidates' handwritten planning sheets instead of relying on computer records. Dr. Puthucheary said that many of the sheets could not be linked to individual candidates because their name had not been written on them. However, some available sheets indicated that the candidates had initially misread the question. In one case, a candidate apparently crossed out the incorrectly understood question and written down the correct one. And of course, we cannot forget about this. Workers' Party's James Lim asked whether the authorities were suggesting that the incident was a case of collective hallucination and whether technical evidence had been given more weight than the accounts of hundreds of candidates.
I wonder then, is SEAB implicitly suggesting that there could have been an occasion of collective hallucination that occurred on that day?
Dr. Putecherry rejected that characterization, saying that the candidates had not collectively recalled one identical alternative question. Instead, they reported a wide variety of different phrases, and their testimonials had been considered alongside the technical evidence. So, what's next? According to preliminary results presented in Parliament, the mean oral score of candidates who took the examination on 15 July was comparable to that of candidates from the other 4 oral examination sessions. The average score of the 432 candidates who reported discrepancy was also comparable to the scores of other candidates examined that day. In other words, those 432 candidates didn't exactly score worse. Dr. Putecherry explained that oral examiners use a positive marking approach. They assess the language skills demonstrated by candidates, including their vocabulary, sentence structure, grammar, delivery, and ability to organize and develop ideas. They are not simply checking whether candidates have followed a fixed model answer. Nevertheless, schools are helping candidates who experience significant distress to apply for special consideration. This process allows SEAB to review the final grades of candidates whose performance may have been affected by circumstances beyond their control. Each application will be assessed individually. SEAB will also review its oral examination processes, including how candidates can be guided to read the question more carefully during the 10-minute preparation period and how the risk of a prompt being misread can be reduced. So, what could have really happened based on science? If you are looking to advertise your business in this channel, we can help you. There are guaranteed views and many big brands have trusted us. Just click on the link in the description. Some people may compare this incident with something known as the Mandela effect. In simple terms, the Mandela effect refers to a situation in which many people confidently remember the same event, image, or detail incorrectly. The name came from people who remember Nelson Mandela dying while in prison during the 1980s. In reality, he was released from prison in 1990 and died in 2013. Researchers have found that groups of people can sometimes make the same specific false memory error. For example, participants in the 2022 study consistently remember incorrect details in familiar logos or characters, even though the real versions were widely available. However, this does not mean that the O-level incident has been proven to be a Mandela effect. A classic Mandela effect usually involves many people remembering the same incorrect detail. In this case, candidates reported several different versions of the question. Now, how about another phenomenon called mass hysteria? That term will not accurately describe what happened here. Mass hysteria, which researchers now call mass psychogenic illness, generally involve a group of people developing similar physical symptoms without an identifiable physical cause. This may include fainting, dizziness, nausea, or breathing difficulties. In this case, the candidates did not report a common set of physical symptoms. They only reported remembering different versions of an examination question. There's another recognized phenomenon known as memory conformity. In simple terms, this happens when someone's recollection of an event is influenced by what other people subsequently say about it. For example, two people may remember an event differently. After discussing it, one person might unknowingly incorporate details from the other person's account into their own memory. In the case of the oral examination, candidates might have spoken to classmates or encountered different versions of the alleged question on social media after leaving the examination room. Theoretically, such discussions could influence how someone subsequently remembers the exact wording. However, there's no evidence that memory conformity explains what happened here, although this is the strongest theory so far. Now, if it's not the Mandela effect, not mass hysteria, and not memory conformity, then what really happened? Well, this means there's only one explanation for this. The AI controlling the matrix is starting to glitch, and by 2027, we'll all be controlled by ChatGPT and become zoo animals. Anyways, do you know that watching too many TikTok videos could cause kids to be lazier? Yeah, I'm not kidding. Well, watch this and you understand. Also, if you want to advertise with us, even as a standalone video, do contact us. Our website is in the description, or you can scan this QR code. Thank you for spending almost 9 minutes with me. I really appreciate it and hope you learned something.